Oh, there we go. Now we can do it. It wasn't giving me that button. You should be good now, Freeman. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you should see my Home of Nearcut poster,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome, and we'll have fun. So the first thing is, when we talk about Nearcut, what time period are we talking about? Well, on the right-hand side is the actual patent that the Cambridge Glass Company filed May 1st, 1905, to trademark the word Nearcut. In their documentation, Cambridge claimed that Nearcut had been continuously used in the business since January 1st of 1904. Okay, so per their documentation, Nearcut began 1904. And so then they were granted the trademark by the US Patent Office. So that's the beginning of Nearcut. Is there an end of Nearcut? If you look at it as a time period, the last usage of the term Nearcut was really around the 1921-1902 timeframe. And that is by looking in the catalog and then the trade journals. So the one catalog, the number 10, probably was published in 1921 for the 1922 period. So Nearcut as a time period is 1904 to, we could say, 1922. Now, things were introduced in the Nearcut period, and they continue to exist. One example is the Wild Rose punch bowl. Wild Rose as a pattern was introduced as Nearcut, but as the Wild Rose punch bowl, it continued all the way up, I think, until the 50s. So now we're going to focus more on the Nearcut period, but even at that, I want to focus more on just the early part of Nearcut. Oops, sorry. So as far as Nearcut, they did the trademark on the word Nearcut. Almost always it's near over top the cut. I've seen a couple of pieces where it's actually on a curvature, and hence it's also been one line, but the vast majority is just going to be near over cut. So then the obvious question is everything signed Nearcut? No. Some pieces simply were not, some were. Now, once you found something that was signed Nearcut, then the conclusion is, oh, it must be Cambridge. Well, maybe. Harold Bennett, the Guernsey Glass Company, this was after the Cambridge Glass Company closed, filed the proper paperwork, and he registered the word Nearcut for his use. And so, yes, he did produce some, the strawberry line, and it is labeled Nearcut. Okay, so there's that little caution. But certainly I'm not aware of any pieces other than strawberry that he would have used with the word Nearcut. But now in tracking this down a little further, down at the bottom, I think I can zoom in on it. In 2021, a company in the UK registered in the US Nearcut. So again, Nearcut is a registered trademark. And so I guess legally, I probably should have that little circle R after that. So what is this company doing with Nearcut? Oh, They developed software for barbershops. But they did the proper trademark. And so, yes, it is a trademark in the US. So, moral of the story, if a piece is signed near cut glass and it's not strawberry, then I'm going to say 100% probably that yes, it really is a Cambridge piece of near cut. But like I said, you'll find pieces that are not, so you have to recognize the pattern. It's not advancing to the next page for me. Yeah. Now, as far as recognizing patterns, we all have to do our homework. The Cambridge Glass database has an excellent summary of the lines here, short little description, when they were introduced. You know, for example, the sunburst was introduced in 1907, the feather, 1907. So this would be what I'd say is the more common near cut. And this catalog here, the 1910 catalog, that's probably the best resource for near cut items. At least what I would consider to be the standard near cut items. Now, since we talked about near cut as an era, there's the 1916 catalog, clearly labeled near cut, and the 1921 catalog, clearly labeled near cut. Would you find new patterns in here that are near cut? Yes, and you certainly would find more examples. Like I said, the wild rose shows up in the 1916. So when you're out looking at something, is it signed? Then pretty good, that is Cambridge. If it's not signed, then you have to know your patterns. Knowing your patterns, you've got the book with you, or you can quickly pull up the glass database. Now, you're on here because Cambridge Glass appeals to you, but I would also argue near cut should appeal to just about everybody as well, because examples, you should have near cut examples if you collect cream and sugars. You can certainly find cream and sugars in Rose Point, Chantilly, and near cut. So near cut examples should be in your sugar and cream and sugar collection. Vases, again, near cut vases. Baskets, I'll show you some examples of baskets in a moment. What about decorated items? Well, okay, maybe not so much the etches, but there's still decorations that happen. Colored items? Well, as we get to the end of the near cut era, color was introduced. Mulberry was introduced. Ebony was introduced. So yes, you can find some near cut pieces in ebony, not easily. Good example would be the community line. You can find that. Community line is considered near cut, and you can find an ebony. I'll show you an example of early mulberry near cut. So certainly colored items. If you collect candlesticks, we can find near cut candlesticks. So now that it gets interesting of what items would exist only in the near cut era, but not later. So if you're a Rose Point collector, what would a near cut person have that you wouldn't have elsewhere? And I'm going to reach around the table and pull up my two examples.
You'll probably have to stop sharing screen so we can see those well, Freeman. Otherwise, they're real small.
Well, I have pictures of them, so it's coming.
Okay.
But again, it is kind of on the small side. Does anybody recognize it? It's a knife rest. So you'd have your knife at the table. So that's one example that doesn't exist in other lines. The other thing that Ginny likes to find is napkin rings. When she sets the table, she gets napkins out. So she's got quite a variety of napkin rings. Well, there is a near cut napkin ring. And to my knowledge, there's only the one pattern, the Marjorie pattern. So that's just more the interesting thing. I'm not sure if I could say water bottles are unique to the near cut line. They show up in the later parts of the near cut era, and then there's water sets later, but I'll leave that as open. So I'll just simply say like napkin rings. If you want napkin rings, if you want Cambridge glass napkin rings, you need to find the Marjorie rings. Now, I've got 4 pictures here just to start the discussion for tonight. I want to pull out example of one particular pattern, certainly not exhaustive, but illustrates the pieces. This would be the inverted feather pattern. Certainly vases, plates, bowls, pitchers, tumblers, stemware, cake stands. The inverted feather is a large line, lots of pieces. And as you can sort of see, some pieces can be gold decorated around the rim. One of the other things that's, I guess, interesting about Cambridge glass is they made variations. You've certainly seen that with other examples where they would take a piece out of the mold and shape it one way or shape it another way. Well, let's see, I think I can zoom in. My 2 sherbets. One is cupped in, the other sherbet is flared out. So it just depends on what style of sherbet you want. And if you want salt and peppers, if you're a salt and pepper collector, you can find examples there. If you're after colored or treatments on items, well, I can certainly find carnival glass, and Cambridge did carnival glass, just like a lot of other companies did. So we have the carnival on green, carnival on mulberry. The strawberry is considered marigold, which is kind of a yellowish, but it's on clear glass. So we have that type of treatment. We also have the ruby flashing with gold trim on both the star goblet as well as the Guernsey dish. Okay, the ruby flash is a little worn in this one. We've seen gold decorated items in other pieces. If you can find good examples of near cut that are gold, it's really heavy gold. This daisy dish is done in gold, and it's a heavy gold, not this little flimsy etching. Then maybe it was a precursor to cut glass. I believe this is the 4022 pattern. You can find it, oops, sorry. It has been enhanced with cutting around the starburst, if you will, or not, and then also up around the edge. So I've got the not cut and then the cut version. So you can find these little variations. You're not just dealing with plain crystal glass. Keep in mind, though, you're dealing with glass that truly qualifies as antique glass, more than 100 years old, right? 1904 to 1922, this is 2024. So yeah, to find somewhere is going to be expected. Vases are attractive. They just get heavy because of the sheer weight. I've just put the ruler in here so you can have an idea that we're talking roughly 12-inch tall vases. The feather, the Marjorie, we get this one, the wheat sheaf, and then just the community line pulled vase. And Stratford, well, I had to pull Stratford in. Stratford is not the early near cut, but it does show up in the later near cut era. And I got that one in there because that is the precursor into Mount Vernon. Not too long ago, Lisa did a program on baskets. So if you're a basket collector, sure, you should be able to find baskets in near cut. And they pretty much all tend to be about the same size. So the top again is, I'll say the common ones, the feather, starburst, the wheat sheaf. The ones at the bottom are a little more unusual cut ones, or sorry, patterns, near cut patterns. So that's really what I've got to motivate the show and tell portion of this Zoom and Tell session. I certainly have pieces sitting out here on the table. I'll show at the end if nobody else has shown pieces like them. So that's what I've got to get things started.
Okay, well, thank you, Freeman. Does anyone have any questions for Freeman on near cut? I do. So a couple of the questions, I noticed you said what items are not found in maybe some of the other lines that are found in this line. In near cut, like I have the Fernland collection, which a lot of people understand is the snowflake at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have spooners. Were spooners found in other items or mainly in near cut?
Gwinnell, help. Gwinnell.
Oh, I have to unmute. I don't see the spooner in Caprice. But I'm not sure about the other lines. I would say it's probably geared toward the near cut era because the time period that you're using, that they would be needing those, that they would issue the spooners.
Spooners were made in with heavy glass, not a thin glass, because if you put spooners in the thin glass, they would be broken all the time.
Oh, could you repeat that, Freeman? I couldn't quite hear Jeannie.
Well, Jeannie was commenting that a spooner, if you're going to be putting spoons in it, you need a heavy piece of glass, not something that would be blown. So you need the heavy glass, which would go back to the near cut. And maybe it is, but ties back more into the Victorian collection.
Okay.
Exactly.
And just to make sure everyone's clear on spooner, there's the cream, sugar, which is usually covered, and then you have a spooner. But yeah, I've certainly seen spooners matched up with the cream, and to say you have a cream and sugar. So
Yes.
you know, so we'd have to be careful. Is it a spooner or is it a sugar that's missing the lid?
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Freeman?
Julie, I had a question.
Excellent, David.
Freeman had indicated that not all pieces of near cut are marked as such. I agree with that 100%. Freeman, have you identify that certain patterns are more commonly marked with near cut, or is it just more often the piece itself?
I don't have a good answer for that one offhand.
All right. I just thought maybe there were certain patterns that where they just simply did not put the near cut pattern or insignia in the bottom, and others that they did.
David, I might just add a little bit on that. What I've found is really it's been really haphazard, not really unlike the triangle C on some items. Like we'll see tonight. We're going to show some near cut daisy items, and we'll have the same exact blank, and sometimes it's signed and sometimes it's not. Exact same blank. So it is really haphazard, and why that is, I have no idea.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, I look forward to that.
I've noticed something in the inverted strawberry pieces that I've collected. Every single one of them has the strawberry leaves incised on the bottom of the piece. There is nowhere to mark it near cut.
Didn't think about that. Good point.
Not on the very underside bottom, but the inside bottom.
Well,
Like I have the strawberry picture.
no, these are on the bottom. They're not on the inside.
No, the leaves are on the bottom, but it could still be signed on the inside.
Oh, I see what you mean. It could be signed on the inside of the piece.
Correct.
Ah,
I didn't pull out my strawberry picture.
I'm gonna have to look at this.
Hey, Julie, I got something for you.
Okay.
The near cut that is Guernsey, I came across some of that a while back, and it was on like Tahoe colored, and on the inside of the bottom, it was just some small drinking glass, and it did say near cut inside there, and I didn't understand it because the color was absolutely wrong. And but that's what I saw. I have seen a piece of the Guernsey, and I had no idea until Freeman enlightened us tonight. Thank you, Freeman. But it was on a Tahoe colored piece.
And your example is a good example because you pointed out the color, and the color didn't match the timeline.
So Freeman, I have another question about this near cut mark. So when Bennett patented the near cut, is it the same font? So you can't distinguish between a Cambridge near cut and a Bennett near cut? Does it look exactly the same, or is there a space between near and cut? Is there any way to differentiate them?
I don't think so. Other than by color.
By color.
If it's on an unusual color piece.
Okay. And you mentioned that, I'm going to keep asking a question because everybody's being shy tonight and I'm not. My question is, when you showed the pieces like the marigold and the flashing, were there certain lines of near cut that were more frequently have these treatments than others? Or did every single pattern in near cut have a flash or gold applied to it, or there are just certain patterns that you would find more frequently with these treatments?
I hope we'll get an answer to your question from what people show tonight.
Okay.
Trying to think offhand. Marjorie is one pattern. I don't think I've seen it decorated. So I think it's just pattern based.
Okay. Well, I think
examples.
I have a question. we've seen, and I don't remember the answer to this, otherwise I'd answer it myself, but we've seen pieces from another company that stamped in the bottom new cut, NUCUT. I don't remember. Do you remember who made those?
Okay, you'll find NU, new cut, press cut, art cut, and I think clear cut. So those are just other companies, but I don't recall off the top of my head, for example, who did the press cut or who did the new cut.
New
Because
cut
new
was
cut
just
looks like it's
Imperial.
on near cut pieces. So, yeah.
Was new cut, was that the Imperial, Cornell?
I think it's Imperial.
Yeah, new cut is Imperial and press cut was McKee.
Okay,
And I was going to show a couple of those pieces for comparison.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it sounds like it's time to show glass. So I will, Bill, since you're on the screen for me right now, I am going to put you as the first presenter tonight, and we will put, now I did not get everybody's messages that they're showing glass tonight. So if you are going to show glass, if you could just send me a quick chat, that would be great. So after you show Bill, we'll go back to Freeman and we'll let Freeman show some additional examples.
Okay, well, I'll start then with the sugar and cream. I have the Marjorie set, which is the 2631. And what I found fascinating was the similarities with these other types. I have a new cut, which is the Imperial right here. They both have the very similar, do you call that a starburst on the symbol? And they look, somewhat similar with the spout and the rippled top, but I found the symbol on the side to be very similar. So this is the Cambridge, it's the individual creamer. This is the new cut, which is Imperial. And then I have the press cut, which was the McKee version. And again, the similar symbol on the outside. These are all big, heavy pieces, which is what I kind of liked. I thought they were neat. Then I also have, in the Marjorie line, I have the napkin ring that Freeman had mentioned, which I believe is kind of rare.
They're hard to find.
Yes. And then I thought I would show a picture. It's the 2660 picture. Again, this is a big, heavy item. This, you got to be careful which shelf you put it on. Then I had the feather goblet that Freeman mentioned, and mine doesn't have very much gold left on it at all. But that's what I've got.
Well, thank you, Bill. That's wonderful. And yes, I agree. Those pictures are very heavy. I have several in the Fernland line, and you don't lug those far because I can only imagine those filled with liquids, how heavy those pieces were. I can see why you would have to have a pretty good arm strength to lift them up. So thank you so much for sharing. It's very much appreciated. And Freeman, we're going to come back to you now.
Well, there were.
And we're going to put Jack on deck.
Did you see the couple of chats, I think, from Christine and Gwinnell?
Yes, I did.
So let's.
You want to wait?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let's go to Christine, and we'll save you for a little while yet, Freeman.
Yep.
Christine, we'll have you go, and we'll put Gwinnell on deck.
Well, mostly what I have are the daisy or the archfoot daisy. So I'll put this, can you see it okay? So
Yes.
I have the oil here, really kind of a neat piece. I don't know if you can see I just love the daisy. I don't know if you can see the daisy on it or not, but it's really cool. I also have that in the decanter. So here's the decanter. So again, kind of so you can see the daisy on there. So it's kind of neat. I also have the basket. I was gonna not show it, but I didn't see you had the daisy basket. So here's the basket. And I think it's really neat. I like the handle to it, that it's kind of like twisted. I think that's really neat. I also have, and I actually have all of the little berry bowls that go with it, the little small bowls, but show you the larger bowl. And then I have a number of the small little bowls that go with it. And I have, since you showed a picture already, I won't show a picture. But this is I think the banana split or something. And I thought this was really neat because even the foot has the pattern on it. So I thought that was really cool. Just got that at the glass stash. And then the last thing is this. So the little child's set with the little cups. They go with it. I don't know if you can see the cups. So, and this one is in, I think this is the wheat. This one. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Christine. And I think you make an excellent point there. I'm not sure that outside of the near cut glass that we see any of the child sets at all. Freeman, do you want to pipe in on that one? I've got you muted, so you have to unmute.
Now that you mention it, she had the wheat sheaf, child's punch set. There's also the strawberry child's punch set. You can also get the little cream, sugar, covered butter, 4 pieces. So yeah, you can find some child sets in near cut, but I don't think in any other lines though.
Is the Red Riding Hood, is that one part of near cut or no?
I'd have to check. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only one that I know of that may or not be, but it does have that same like ridge on it that this does, but I don't know if that matters or not, to be honest with you. So,
well, thank you as always, Christine. It's always wonderful to see you, and thanks for sharing all the pieces that you had tonight. And next, we're going to move to Gwinnell, and then we will put Les on deck.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to continue with Christine, and she had the daisy pattern, sugar, and it is foot one, which is and it's got the creamer to go with it. And they are signed on the inside bottom. And then the children's sets, as you were saying, yes, there is the sugar, and there is the creamer, and there is the spooner, which is similar to the sugar, but it does have the toothed edge on it, where the sugar is flat. And there is a butter that goes with it and cover. And in the children's sets, the sugar, the creamer, and the spooner are signed on the inside bottom. And also got the early, I guess it is. These are not Fernland. This one, the sweetheart pattern. And then Bennett, the inverted strawberry. I don't know if he did the white or whether Cambridge did the white, the milk glass in the basket. And it is signed on the inside, near cut Cambridge. I think it's definitely Bennett. Because it's kind of textured on the inside and on the outside. It's really, really smooth feeling. But again, it is signed on the inside. And that's my near cut.
Well, thank you. And thank you for showing the variations too. Does anyone know about the milk glass? Is that a Bennett piece? Hearing nothing. I'm sure we'll discuss it more.
Yes, it is.
It is. Thank you, Les.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Gwinnell. Much appreciated.
Uh-huh.
Les, you are up, and we will put Rich on deck.
Okay. So, we all like different things to collect. I have to admit, crystal near cut is not the top of my list. I like near cut if it's got decoration or color on it, however. So one thing that I think many people, I got to view myself here, sorry. Like is the ebony community line pieces with the enamel decoration. And, this is not a very large basket, but boy, the floral decoration on it is just darling. And a way to tell the Cambridge decorated ebony with enamel florals versus Lotus is the Cambridge has this white enamel on the edge and Lotus used gold on the edge. Now it's really pretty. The Lotus pieces with the enamel decorations are gorgeous and there's nothing wrong with that. Cambridge collectors, we don't often care who decorated stuff, like Charlton or one thing or another. But this piece is community and with the decoration and the color, I like it a lot for my collection. I got a really hefty piece here. This is a big piece of glass. It's 9¼ inches tall. It's all these numbers. I'm not a numbers person, and I know many of you are not. So for near cut, you almost have to use the numbers, right, Freeman? And so this is 2340, a name that's often used by collectors, at least by carnival collectors, is Venetian. And we got this thing with the carnival that there were names used because carnival used inverted strawberry. I think for Cambridge, it was just strawberry as far as the near cut. But carnival used the word inverted strawberry. So this piece normally pops up in crystal as the bottom of a lamp. But this is got the carnival treatment in marigold, and it is a substantial piece of glass. And in conversations with Lynn Walker, why they made this, the lamp bottom, as a vase, apparently there was another company, and I forget which one, perhaps Imperial, had a really good seller. And they had to compete. That's the way it was. It was a competitive market then, just like it is now. Other pieces that I really like Carnival as well in near cut. So these little, they call them lady spittoons, collectors, Carnival collectors called them. So it was a special tool used to spread it out and make it look like a spittoon. It does have the leaves on the bottom, Rich, but it is nicely signed on the interior near cut. And this one is marigold, and another one I have here in the green. So they're just kind of nice decorative pieces to have. And then the question on the near cut tumblers by Guernsey. Man, have they been foolers for collectors when they pop up in what Cambridge called Crown Tuscan. And Harold made a lot of them. And in addition to having the near cut on the bottom, really closely in a very bright light with a magnifying glass, he does have a script B on the side. But man, you've got to really search for that thing. So Harold could say, oh, I marked them. But they also have near cut in the bottom. And then the Crown Tuscan color is really a fooler for collections. So thank you, Julie. That's what I've got.
Well, thank you, Les. And I'm glad you could join us this evening. How tall is that marigold vase?
9 inches and 1/4. 9 and 1/4.
9 inches and 1/4.
And it is heavy.
Yes,
it would handle a lot of spoons. Big spoons.
Big spoons are a lot of flowers, one or the other. So thank you for that. And since you mentioned Rich, we have Rich coming up right now, and we will put Jack on deck.
Okay, hello, friends. If you had, suggested to me that I would be collecting anything like early American press glass, I would have said no, no, that's not what I like. I like my stemware from the 1930s. I like my Decagon. And then I stumbled on this darling little thing. This tiny little berry bowl with the strawberry pattern and the ruby flashing, and I sort of fell in love a little bit with a very thick gold border, and we're off. This is all it took to get me started. I do not see anything on the bottom except for this interesting sort of starburst pattern, but I'll check. That was the first of the berry bowls, and it wasn't the last because I think this is the 1916 emerald or the 1916 green with the pattern filled in with gold. Perhaps gold paint, I'm not sure, but it's it's a lovely piece. And again, the leaves are on the outside of the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. And I'll have to search to see if I can find anything on the inside. Holding it up to the light, I don't see anything other than the strawberry pattern. But I love the dark green, the 1916 green. So I had to find the tumblers in the same pattern. Now again, in the little berry bowl, the ruby flashing was everywhere that the strawberry incising wasn't, and on these pieces, the gold is filling in the strawberry pattern. And again, we have the little leaves on the bottom, the strawberry leaves. If you can see that, we'll see. That's how we began, and of course, I had to, when I stumbled on the amber tumblers, I thought these were really fascinating. These are very pretty under the bright light. No decoration at all, except for the strawberry pattern in the glass and the leaves on the bottom. And, you know, there seems to be a lot of different kinds of pieces. This is not a tumbler. It was described as a mayonnaise, and it's got this lovely big flared top, but it has what looks like the strawberry pattern. And I'm all out of focus. What's interesting is I think someone mentioned the blue. I suspect these might be Bennett because I've never been able to identify this particular shade of blue. It was described as bluebell, but it seems too dark for bluebell, and that seems to be the wrong time period. But I love the color of them. And so I suspect these might be the later version. And I have the same one with, interestingly enough, a flared rim. Not a lot of flare, but just enough that you notice it. I'm going to have to search for the tiny little incised bee and see if I can find it. Um, the last piece, since there are other pictures, I had to share my very large picture. I'm going to have to turn the blurring off. There we go. This is quite a heavy piece. And like the berry bowl, the ruby flashing is everywhere that the strawberry pattern is not. And it has some wear, but not a great deal of wear. I think it's in lovely condition for how old this must be. And as mentioned, the gold on the rim is quite substantial. That's a big, thick, heavy gold rim there. And I particularly like this handle, which sort of braided like I've seen on some of the others being shown tonight. So, and of course, this means I have to find the matching tumblers. This is everything for me.
But of course, you have to find all the matching pieces. That's what makes it so much fun. But the blue, I would imagine, is the Tahoe blue that Mike had kind of discussed. Is that the similar blue, Mike?
That would be it, Julie.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, very lovely, very, very lovely. I like the flashing and the red. So beautiful pieces, Rich. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And like you said, subtle differences in the flaring, but just subtle enough that, of course, we have to add one to our collection. So thank you for
Right.
sharing with us on that so much. So next, we will go to Jack, and we will put Freeman on deck.
Okay, thank you, Julie. I'm just going to go see if people I can see these. The first one I want to show is a little berry bowl, and this is actually near cut number 2504. This is the one piece that we use, and we use it for salt, and it's always sitting by the stove and has a little spoon in it, and this is what we use to cook with our cooking salt with. And similar to what Rich just showed, this is not marked, but it has that same star bottom on it, that the one that he had on it. So that's the most of our near cut is, like many of you have seen, it's a very popular pattern, is the near cut daisy. And for a long time, I could never find near cut daisy in the patterns, in the catalogs. And the only time it really shows up is in the 1916 catalog, and there are a couple of pages of it. But it was introduced in 1910, and why it didn't make it into the 1910 catalog, we don't know. But it's in the trade journals, and everything is being introduced in 1910, and they called it Archfoot. But that did not last very long because they made a number of pieces without Archfoot. And the first two I want to show is the spooner. Speaking of, we were talking about that earlier. This is the original one that is Archfoot. You can see it has the feet on it. And this is the exact same piece. It's identical in size and everything, except they just cut off the feet on the bottom. And it is the non-Archfoot version. The Archfoot one is signed. The non-Archfoot one is not, interestingly enough. Also in the Archfoot, a decoration that nobody's really talked about yet. I'll put this one down, and you can see it. They would frost the flowers, and Cambridge advertised that as silvering. And they did that on a number of pieces. It's not silver, it's just was their term for frosting the flower and the stem on it. And it was, they marketed that a lot in those early 1910, 12, 13 years. So,
Jack,
yes.
the Archfoot came out, in the 1910 through Sears Roebuck. And then about a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, they took the Archfoot part off of it and just made them flat. They redesigned several pieces, not too long after it was initially brought out.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say some pieces when they did that. Like in the 1916 catalog, most of those pieces are Archfoot, but some are not. So they only did that with certain pieces, don't know the reasoning why or whatever. So, yeah.
I know Sugar and Creamer and a couple of the vases, they took the arch off of them.
Yeah, those are pieces they did. The covered butter is another one that they did. So, yeah. Okay, my next piece is, it's a basket, I guess, if you want to call it that. And then what they did is they took the 8-inch nappy, they kind of flared the two ends, and they put this handle on it. So it's not a piece you see very often at all. I've not seen another one. I'm sure they probably made more than one, but it's kind of a unique piece, the way they did the handle, etc. So, we were talking about table tumblers. So I brought a couple here. One of them is with the red flashing and then the gold around the top. I have an interesting story to tell about the red flashing. Probably in late 2000s, maybe 2008, 2009. And mostly this is Elaine really likes this. She's the one that started collecting the near-cut daisy. And there was an auction, about 20, 30 miles outside of Cambridge at an auction house. And it had a lot of gold flashed items, few hundred at least. And there were some near-cut pieces. In particular, there was a near-cut daisy pitcher that had beautiful red flashing on it that we wanted. And Lynn Welker was there, and we consulted him, how much do you think we should pay for it, and blah, blah, blah. And so there was also phone bidding going on. And Lynn said, watch this. And what apparently happened was there are two people that are two of the foremost collectors of red flashed items in the world. And it's not just Cambridge, but other companies as well. One of them is in Philadelphia, and one of them is in Russia. And they are such competitors and don't like each other so much that they will bid whatever it takes to get the piece away from the other person. And that happened at this auction we were at. We were going to pay, I don't know if it was $150 for the jug. And with phone bidding, etc. The lowest bid starts out the high. Well, the initial bid was $350 starting. And that, of course, it blew us out of the water, and we never got the piece. But they were going back and forth, and Lynn was just sitting right next to us, rolling his eyes, and that was our first introduction into that. So, but anyway, so this is one of these table tumblers that had like that. The second one I wanted to show was it's very light, but you can see, but it has the red in the daisy part there, but it also has a green enameled paint in the stem and everything. So a little unusual, a different decoration that they did this one, and yellow in the center of the red flower. So I've seen a few of these over the years, not many, but it's just a little interesting, different decoration that they did. Also, Freeman talked about candlesticks, and here are the near-cut daisy archfoot candlesticks. Really nice pair the way they did these. These also have the frosted flowers on them. So very nice set. And then they go in our candlestick collection. One of the last things I wanted to show is the shaker. And really interesting, when at the same time when they introduced this line in 1910, they also introduced this method of shaker. And it's not just in the Archfoot Daisy line, but they did it with others too. And this is patented by the Cambridge Glass Company. This little glass kind of funnel thing, it's got a single hole in it, fits down in there, and then the lid screws on the top. So whatever form that salt was, and I don't know what that is, but however the salt came, it somehow shook, and you'd come out just a little bit at a time like that. And in the same trade journal that they introduced Archfoot Daisy in, they introduced this shaker, and it was the biggest thing since sliced bread. I mean, they were touting this as an unbelievable advancement in shaker technology. So just an interesting little thing here, and it shows up on the Archfoot Daisy line. Okay, the last couple of things that we want to show are a couple of big pieces. First thing, this is again in the Archfoot Daisy line. This is the 60-ounce water pitcher. Now it's interesting, normally Cambridge called things jugs almost all the time, not exclusively, but this is one thing they actually labeled a water pitcher. Why they did, I don't know, but that's what they called it. And the reason I'm showing this also is here is another thing they took with the same mold and they made a vase out of it. So you can see they kind of decorated the rim there and used that same exact mold to make a vase. We have a third thing made from this mold, and that is a lamp. And we didn't want to bring that out and show it just because it's very it's hard to, where it's sitting right now is where it's sitting, let's put it that way. But it's the same base as this, and it has the Royal Draft Burner insert in it. So it was an oil lamp, and this also has the frosted flowers, you can see, where this does not. So, and that's all we have. Thank you, Julie.
Well, thank you, Jack. I found it very interesting on the salt shaker. Do you think that they put that insert in there because, again, we're talking about the time period that, you know, they had a lot of the little salt cellars. And so was this a move from a salt cellar to a shaker? And so this was to help keep the salt from getting too moist and hard?
Very possibly. Like I say, I don't know what the salt looked like back then. The advertisement just showed that it was, I didn't even understand what the advertisement is saying, other than it was just the latest. It will, you know, sales will fly off the shelves. This was in China glass and lamps. So the advertisement was towards the retailers, obviously, not to the buying public. So I'm not sure what the advancement in technology was there, but whatever it was, they were touting it pretty highly. We lose Julie?
So I thought that was excellent. So thank you. You still have me?
You just came back. I don't know if anybody else could hear you. I only heard the last 4 or 5 words you just said.
Oh, I just said that the glass that you showed with the different colors was remarkable. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
I got a question for Freeman if he'll take one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Freeman, I didn't see any child sets tonight. Do you have any of those?
Yes.
Well, we had the child punch set. Gwinnell had the child cream, sugar, butter, and spooner.
Okay, I have a question on those. Were those ever reproduced?
The punch bowls were.
Not that I know of.
Well, now I've seen other punch bowls by different companies.
Right.
But I'm mostly asking about the butter, the creamer, the sugar, and whatever the other piece are, the spooner.
The sweetheart, I don't think it was reproduced.
I think Boyd did.
Mm.
Gwinnell, didn't Boyd reproduce the creamer, sugar, and butter?
I'm not sure they did it in the sweetheart. They may have done it in something else, but I don't think it was the sweetheart. But these are marked near cut, and Boyd would have marked it.
Yeah, they hide their B's.
Yeah, they would have marked it.
But the set I'm talking about doesn't really look like near cut. It's just a little small set, the covered butter and stuff. I should have brought one tonight. I didn't.
It probably is, you know, without seeing it for sure, but probably yes.
And I guess maybe my question is whether or not it's even near cut or part of the era. Now that I have exhibited that I don't know what I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since Julie said I was up next, I've
Yes, you are.
turned my camera around. So you should be seeing a wheat sheaf water bottle. And again, if you were to search for the term water bottle, you don't find very many of these, but it's the wheat sheaf pattern. set that one back. I like this vase because it almost has that little spittoon look to it. But it's in the Marjorie line, and the Marjorie has this big heart shape to it. That's how you recognize Marjorie, but the top is just a neat little top to it. Julie mentioned the rose bowl. And so again, we have, I think it's a 6-inch tall rose bowl, again, in the Marjorie. And again, this would be signed on. This one, well, yes, it's a bottle, but is the top a jigger or is it a candlestick? I've seen it listed both ways, and I would have to double check the catalog to see how it was described there. So that's an unusual decanter. This bowl, when I first saw it, I thought, how different. Its pattern is just not like a near-cut pattern, with all the lines and so forth. But yes, again, you probably can't see it, but it does have a nice clear near cut in the center of the bowl, and it's a 2718. So it's just a neat pattern, which I think this might be the only example I have. And then we've talked about decorated pieces, gold pieces that are really heavy gold, and that's what this one is. But it's also unusual in that the gold is outside. Where it would be rubbed off and worn is the ruby flashing. So it's, again, just really heavy gold, and it's a near cut 2764. And then under the simple pieces, I found this little picture. I think it was Tom at the very beginning. He was showing examples of other companies. The handle, for the most part, is going to be a smooth handle. So when I see it ruffled or got the ridges, I immediately think it's probably Imperial. So this one got my attention and said, okay, it's got all the right shapes to it. And it's very clearly got a near-cut signature on the inside. And it's considered a quart handy kitchen jug, a near-cut 2590 with a cutting on it. So it's a neat piece. And the last two pieces that Jean pulled out, the ribbon shows up quite common. Common, at least I see it a lot, with the ruby flashing and then gold trim around the top. If Marjorie Barlow was on the call, she would recognize that, the little sherbet here. I don't remember its number, but that's a particular pattern that she collects. I want to go back to a comment that Jack made about auctions. It was probably 10 years ago. There was an auction, Maine, somewhere up in that area, for a near-cut Star of Bethlehem punch bowl, ruby flashed. Absolutely gorgeous. It sold for $4,000. I've never seen another example of the Star punch bowl. But for $4,000, somebody really wanted it. And it wasn't me. So that's all I have sitting out here extra. So thank you, Julie.
All right. Well, thank you. And I apologize. So my video has gone out again. I had to switch computers. So is there anyone else that has glass to share tonight?
Did Tim Kroos?
I do, Julie, but I'd like to go last. I've got all kinds of stuff pulled out here in case there was a short meeting. I could, I could show more of it.
Well, Tim, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Well, Mike Stradler, you said that nobody had been bringing out any of the child's dishes, so I went and grabbed some while I was watching there. So, we'll start with this. I'm going to turn the screen around. It's a new computer, so bear with me here a minute. I'm going to turn the screen around. And, well, that one's sitting there. So this is what we call Star of Bethlehem. And that is just a beautiful set. We've got a couple, actually we have 3 of those tumblers and a pitcher. I didn't get the pitcher down. These are my wife's love, not really so much mine. I haven't gotten that involved with them. And she could tell you what the pattern is on all these, and I can't. That's covered.
That looks like Fernland.
Yes.
Like what? Fernland?
Yeah.
Fernland.
Okay. And then there's the covered butter. The creamer. And I assume the sugar. Okay.
No,
Then
that's Spooner.
that's the spooner. Okay. My wife would have known that. I don't. Nancy had a Bible study tonight. This is a different pattern. Do you know what that one is, Gunnell?
No, I don't know that one.
Okay. Then there's the green. And I've learned that that's called a spooner. And the covered butter. Okay. I'm going to scoot now because we were talking about here, was any of this reproduced? I've been told that this next set I'm going to show you was reproduced. And it's not Cambridge. There's a covered butter. Creamer. And a spooner. Any comments on those? Yep. Let's get that scooted around there a little bit more.
Are
There.
There.
Can you hear me?
Tim, are they signed?
Let me look. They're not. That one's not. Nope. So who made him? Who reproduced him? Anybody know?
Tim, I don't think the amber set is a reproduction. I just think that it was.
Uh-oh. David was there, Julie, and now it's gone.
There we go. Sorry.
I don't think the amber set is a reproduction. I just think it is a child set produced by another company.
Okay.
It's not a reproduction of a Cambridge pattern. Cambridge just was not the only company that created child sets.
Okay. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
We were talking about the Arch Daisy. This particular one has that, I've always called it a frosted flower. And they also, Jack, here's another one. And this, the coloring in it is just really wonderful. And that for those people that know, with the number on the bottom of it, that came from Charlie Upton, and he had a lot of Archfoot daisy. We do have a punch bowl. I didn't bring it out. It is also the satin or the frosted flower on it, and it came with these punch cups. But they also had, in the cups that we received, was a cup that really isn't doesn't really have the same. Let's see, this one is not satinized, so I thought that was unusual. These pictures coming through clear?
Yes, very clear.
Now this one is a little stem, an Archfoot daisy, but that's not an Archfoot, just a stem. I'm gonna move around here just a minute again. When we were at the Glass Dash this year, out comes this big guy. And I'm really gonna have to move this camera around to do this one. This is ribbon, and the gentleman that had it, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, and he had eight tumblers with it. So I stood there until he found all these 8 tumblers and got the whole set bought, so it didn't get split up. There's one of the tumblers. And then the same pattern. This is I think this Freeman was just showing this a minute ago. Covered.
The Cracker Barrel.
There we go. And Freeman, is this one very common?
The ice cream tray. No, it's not common.
Okay.
And then, there's the large tray, and then there would also be the small, like 3-inch, maybe 4-inch square individual serving dishes.
Oh, really?
Square.
Okay. There's that piece. And I really enjoy these a lot, these water carfes. That one happens to be the Marjorie line. And in the same run, here's a Marjorie, they call the 2699 14 ounce with a nickel top. But when we looked in the book, this has a different top on it than this one. Freeman, any news here?
Other than you're looking at a molasses jar.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know anything about the top on it.
Okay. This is a feather line at the top. It's a beautiful piece. What do you want me to do here, Freeman? I want to get my fingers out of the way.
Actually, I'm more interested in the top.
Okay.
I didn't see inverted feather on the top. So I'm not sure that that's the right top to it.
Okay. Well, the only thing that these guys right here look like a starburst. They're there. The X's are still there. But you're right. The feather part of it is not on the lid, but it fits it like it should. It doesn't feel like a marriage at all.
Well, when I saw that little extra finial on top of the ball, that got my attention. I said, no, that's unusual.
Okay. This one is called a arch foot. Actually, this is not an arch foot. This would just be an daisy. Orange bull. How's that?
Good.
Another piece that came from Charlie's.
And I do remember, there were some pieces that were actually called orange bowls. Why? Don't know.
Another one of those water carfes. And I understand that's the lotus pattern. Okay, got a nod. And just for fun, was at Welker's last time we were there in Cambridge. I don't know if this is going to be, I don't know that I can show it. Lynn did not know what it was. It's really cute. It's got feet. There we go. It's got a nice pattern to it. He did not know what it was. I said, well, how are you going to charge me for it if you don't know what it is? He says, well, I don't remember what he told me, but he says, you give me export. He says, you can just have it. So I got it. And then it had a really beautiful little top that went on it. And if you notice, the top is made for this type of a lid that actually sets right on there perfectly. I don't know what it is.
We have a question from Lisa. Lisa, do you have a question to ask?
I do, Julie. Hi, everyone. So I have these two here. They're part of each of them are part of a respective set that includes the spooner.
Tim's.
I beg your pardon?
Kind of like Tim's set.
Kind of like Tim's set. They have, all the pieces, the creamer, the sugar, the spooner. These are the miniatures now. They are not marked near cut. And they're, they don't have a pattern pressed into them, more just these ridges. Again, I don't know about whether or not these are Cambridge or reproductions. I like the children's stuff. They kind of goes with my demi thing. But I wondered if anybody else knew whether or not these.
And Tim's had patterns.
Yeah, Tim's had patterns, but these almost have kind of a community look to them, or a colonial. So I wondered if anybody had any comments on that.
Well, they are part of the colonial line. And just between us, to me, there's just been too many of those in the 1916 royal blue and the 1916 green that keep surfacing on eBay. And it's just like there are so many and they're such perfect condition that I don't know. I've asked around and said, we don't have anybody that's reproducing them, but man, they've been coming out of the woodwork and they're over 100 years old. So that's all I can offer, Lisa. I'm suspicious that there's not somebody, redoing them, but I don't know for sure at all.
Okay. And then I have another kind of question. It's not about a specific piece, but more about the evolution of the term near cut and how kind of that came to be. We all have heard of American brilliant cut glass, and I'm just wondering if when Cambridge was starting out, using this term near cut was about sort of branding their cut glass in order to kind of compete in that market. If anybody could speak to that, that'd be interesting to me.
Well, I would agree with you that, Cambridge did the near cut, but then the other companies, the New Cut, Press Cut, Art Cut, that was their own brand. So they would all have this imitation cut glass, but yet cheaper than the cut glass, the brilliant cut glass, but yet they still had to do something to brand it to the company.
American Brilliant Cut is cut, and it's high lead crystal. Near cut, I'm sorry, doesn't hold a candle to quality and craftsmanship. So I think it was kind of, if you think good, better, best, was better, right? But and I mean, Cambridge did lovely finishes, but it's still not brilliant cut.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for answering that question. Appreciate that, Linda. Going back, did you have anything else to show us, Tim? I didn't mean to interrupt right in the middle of your program.
No problem. Let me go back here. I had two more examples that these are still the little child sets. This green is entirely different than this one. And Lynn Welkers has told me, since those colors were just, they were, oh boy, I got to really reach to get that one in there. The darker one, for sure, was a good Cambridge color. This other one is just it's a lot thinner in the color. And we've only got two creamers is what we picked up sometime or another. And
those are both Fernland again. That is definitely a Cambridge pattern.
But Nancy loved those little children's dishes, and she was snatching them up wherever she could. And like I say, she couldn't be here tonight, so I had to fill in on what I don't know about. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you. And I think that was an excellent question, Lisa, you had about brilliant, but I don't know. At the glass show, I don't know if many of you were by Tarzan's booth, and he had a very, very large piece of brilliant glass. And I actually picked it up, and it weighed a tremendous amount. And such a heavy glass. But again, I agree with Linda that the lead content is very, very high in those brilliant cut pieces. I think, as she mentioned, the quality is probably a higher than what we see in these pieces that we show as near cut.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I guess I kind of was coming at it from the perspective of, was this Cambridge in their early, trying to kind of get into the market, and like Linda was saying, good, better, best kind of thing, try and put something out there that would be more available to people who could not necessarily afford true brilliant lead cut glass. So, but it seems like it all fits together in terms of what kind of the evolution, if you will, of just how glass happened in the country, especially we're talking around the turn of the 1900s or coming out of the late 1800s, that they would try and come up with some way to, put it out there to market it, to make it be more accessible to more people.
Well, American Brilliant Club, it was going out across the world. It was finishing out at the end of the, like 1880s to 1890s.
Right, 1890s, right.
And so by 1919, there were virtually no cutting houses left. There were a couple, but the industry had died.
Mhm.
So this was the cheap alternative to it.
Yes. Well, thank you. Well, thank you to everyone. Is there anyone we missed that would like to show glass this evening?
Julie, I've got a question for Freeman, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Freeman, so I joined late, so you may have covered it, but I'm quite sure there's reproduction of inverted strawberry other than Guernsey and also inverted thistle. Would you comment on that?
Thistle, yes. I can't say for sure if I want to say Mosser's doing thistle. And strawberry, Fenton did some things in inverted strawberry.
Yeah, and I believe there's some reproduction inverted strawberry carnival entering the market too. So I just want to toss that out. I'm pretty leery right now on inverted strawberry and inverted thistle, just to know if it's actually Cambridge or it might be newer stuff that's been reproduced out of new molds, by the way.
Yeah, the thistle is one that, as you pointed out, if you see too much of something, you really have to question the validity. You know, is it the old stuff or is it new stuff coming from somewhere?
Yeah. Good points.
Thank
Well,
you.
with that, oh, go ahead, Les.
I just said thank you to Freeman. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Freeman. We appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with us this evening. And
It was collective knowledge.
collective.
But I think we also got a hint, David, for another program topic on child sets.
Oh yes, that may be a very worthwhile topic coming up, because I know that there were many child sets, and actually they were used to model after some of Cambridge patterns, but I believe it was made by Jeanette and some other manufacturers, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that would be a very interesting topic. So speaking of David, I am going to return it to you right now for you to close the show for us, so to speak.
Julie, before we do that, can I interject something?
Sure.
Les just brought this up, and I had this. I wanted to bring it out. So this is a strawberry piece, inverted strawberry, in nice royal blue type color. It's marked on the bottom near cut, but it's near cut all across, one word, not near and then cut below it. Also, what's interesting about this piece is they never did a sugar shaker, and Cambridge did a near cut strawberry. So this is a brand new mold. So somebody, why they would think to want to make a new mold to do near cut is beyond me, but they have. So because here's one, and I'll give it away because this was also what we have a little thing at our house. If you come visit, we have a Cambridge quiz, and we have a few items out there, and you have to decide if it's Cambridge or not. So I'm giving this away now. This is not Cambridge, but a lot of people get fooled by this. So okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, David, back to you.
Well, thank you again, Julie, and thank you to Freeman and everyone who shared information on near cut this evening. Near cut clearly is a large line. It spans several years, and even though it was essentially the beginning of the Cambridge Glass Company, there's still a lot of information that we don't know about near cut, and programs like this really help educate and round out our understanding of Cambridge Glass. So thank you to our presenter, Freeman, and everyone who shared glass and information in tonight's program. A few people joined since I gave my introduction, so I just want to remind everyone that next month, Gwinnell Pierce is going to be doing a program on Cambridge Caprice. So look through your cabinets and find a few Caprice items. Cambridge Caprice is a large line, so collectors can really amass large collections of Caprice and all the variety of colors it was made in. So it should be a wonderful program next month, and we look forward to Grinnell's presentation. really wanted to make sure that I plugged the fall program that's going to be coming up in October in Cambridge, Ohio. So I think next month, Les will have some information out in the crystal ball about registering for that event. And the topic is going to be decanters, beverage sets, and cocktail shakers. Again, that's a large number of items that could be on display. So if you are planning to attend the fall program in Cambridge in October, check out your cabinets. And if you are able to bring some items for that presentation, that would be great. If you could reach out to, since I'm going to be doing the program in the fall, if you could reach out to me or Les and just let us know what you're bringing, if you're willing to bring something. That way we don't have a lot of duplication, and we could kind of guide you in what items you could to bring and would be helpful for the display at Theo's restaurant in October. So it should be a wonderful program. And of course, Cambridge cocktail shakers, decanters, and beverage sets Cambridge did some of their best work on those, decorates, silver overlays. So there should be some amazing examples to show for that program. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll need to be working on my program here in the next couple of months. But if you would like to bring some items for that presentation, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll try to make sure that we have the items we need for that presentation. So thank you, Julie.
All right. Well, thank you. And again, thank you to everyone that was sharing their glass with us this evening. Again, thank you, Freeman, and everyone that was available to attend this evening. I apologize for my own computer difficulties, which were several throughout the program. I was between two computers at least 3 times today. So my apologies for that and the screeching noise. But I look forward to seeing everybody next month. I think it'll be a great program. Guanella's obviously will have several very unique pieces to share with us, as many of you also have at your homes. So we hope that you'll be able to share those with us next month. In the meantime, please, everyone, enjoy the rest of your summer. It's coming to a close for those that are in and out of Ohio. And we look forward to seeing you next month. So take care, everyone, and enjoy your evening.